All right, so now it's time to discuss applications to your basement and your ground floor when it comes to dynamics, because in order to control the volume of your voice, it does require you to use parts of the body that you, at this point, are already familiar with. So we're going to discuss that and talk about some really amazing things that I have found immensely beneficial for my singing when it comes to dynamics, as well as some other general principles regarding it. So the first thing I would like to discuss is how your diaphragm and abdomen, lower back, and chest, this whole area right here, how that impacts your sound as far as being soft or being loud. So generally speaking, if you want to be loud, what it requires is a very active movement inward and upward as you're doing so. So for example, so you notice that the movement of my abdomen squeezed inward and the muscles in my lower back pulled, kept the chest up, and it directed up into the resonant cavities in my face. So, one thing I want you to keep in mind, you do not want to punch for volume. You want to, what I like to call, prime yourself to get ready. So it may take a split second to do so, but if you could smoothly transition into a loud part, you will save yourself a lot of headache and difficulty getting into certain sections. So given that, I'm going to give you a demonstration of what priming is. So you move this in and get your face ready for the phrase that you were about to sing. So for example, I'm going to sing yeah. Yeah! I'll do it again a little slower. Yeah! You notice there's a little bit of an entrance there. I'll do it on a different word with a harder consonant. Control! Control! Notice that this is moving in just slightly before I start making the sound. It's very useful. Now, as far as the volume of your voice, you notice that that was very loud. Now, you may be wondering, how do I apply that in soft singing? Generally, you want to be in your head voice if you were going to be singing softly. That's not necessarily always the case, but there's going to be less activity in this area. There's still activity. Don't get me wrong in thinking that you're just going to be a blob down here. No, 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 no. There is still activity. It's just much softer. You still want to take a good posture. But, for example, yeah, yeah. That's in head voice. And obviously, it's still well compressed. There's still clarity. Let's try it with control. Control, control. There's still activity up here. This is still moving. It's still clear. If this is too constricted, that's what it's going to sound like. If you're too like stone heavy and like a brick wall down here, that's what it's going to sound like. If it's not compressed enough, that's what it's going to sound like. So you want a balance between the two. And you want to make sure that you understand the difference between breathy and soft. And it's all about how much activity is happening down here in this area. So hopefully that clarifies some applications to the breath, to the body, to the way that you use your voice. But there are further applications that you can apply to your face. Your face can determine the volume of your performance. Say that you want to start soft and get really loud for a section. This is all you have to do. Or at least this is a way that you can approach it that's healthy. So all those examples, I was pushing the same amount of energy up, keeping it controlled, not over pushing, but keeping the same amount of energy pushed up while I was opening up. Say that I want to get from loud to soft. Ah. Or ah. It's all about decreasing the activity here and slightly closing down. So you see that it goes in opposites. Ah. So, it's not just what's happening down here. It's also what's happening up in the mouth as well. The face can apply dynamics to the style of your voice. So, just keep that in mind as you're experimenting with dynamics. Now, the other thing that I do want to note as far as misconceptions about volume. Just because you're singing softly does not mean that your core is not engaged, as I had stated before. And also, just because a scream or a loud tone sounds loud doesn't necessarily mean that it is. It's about the positioning and the technique over it rather than the volume itself. Also, something else that I want you to try to exercise this idea. I want you to try singing in your chest voice as quietly as you possibly can at a high register, well, not a high register, rather a higher pitch than usual. But I also want you to sing in your head voice as loud as you possibly can at a relatively comfortable pitch. So I'm going to try that with a G4 and sing as quietly in my full chest voice as I possibly can without pushing. And then eventually I will increase the volume as we go. So here we go. That is a very controlled, clear, compressed sound, but I'm barely pushing. Now, head voice. It's very loud. So, now the other challenge that you can give yourself is trying to blend the volume of your chest voice with your head voice. So, increasing the volume of your head voice and decreasing the volume of your chest voice in order to blend. You might experience some of a break there, but it's practiced over time. So, by doing that type of exercise, it can help you transition and reduce your break by decreasing the volume of your chest voice and increasing the volume of your head voice and balancing that together in order to establish a better blend across the pitch spectrum. Those are just some of the ways that dynamics and volume can help you in your technique. So you can see how dynamics and volume apply to the technique of your voice and also to preserving the health of it as well, because you really do not want to push yourself and your limits beyond what your voice is capable of. You're running a marathon, not a sprint. So dynamics and volume play a key role in that, as well as providing more expression in your performance. So it sets the tone for the next section that we're going to be going over, which is the roof, the last piece of the puzzle.